estimated wait time is approximately forever.
Politically correct anymore. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Please continue to hold for the next available representative.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
We appreciate you waiting and waiting. What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
People who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new live stream. First Tuesday in, I think, months, probably going all the way back to January, where we did not have a primary to cover. I don't think there's any statewide primaries until Arizona votes on July 30th, which that's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. But the main focus now has been fully turned to the presidential race, because Democrats we thought they were in cope mode before. It's getting worse. You know, maybe we thought it'd be like a one-day thing, a two-day thing. They'd weasel their way out of it, at least to like coping and saying, oh, it's something temporary. It's a temporary bump. Biden's going to be fine. He had one little mishap. No, that's not what's happening. We have Democrats conceding the race. You now have Marie Perez in Washington's third now saying that she fully expects Biden to lose to Donald Trump, and she's like a crazy person. But then you have Jared Golden in Maine, who's probably one of the actually more moderate Democrats, which doesn't really say a whole lot in the here and now. But either way, he actually does have a voting record that does deviate from his fellow cohorts at times on the Democrat side, coming out with an article today saying Donald Trump is going to win. I'm okay with it. I won't vote for him, but he's not going to end democracy. He's not going to do X, Y, and Z. The Democrats fearmonger about. And now you have them coming out right here, right now. This is a recent report. And it's showing that Democrat donors are now bailing on Biden, and they're going to be going bigger on their contributions to the House candidates, the Senate candidates in a bid to build a firewall around a second Trump term. This honestly, and I will tell people not to be complacent, because Republicans did the same thing in 2016 in regards to Hillary Clinton, in regards to the whole Access Hollywood tape. That definitely was a big, shake up to the race. One could say a lot of donors started to pull out, etc. People thought the race was over. And this is, it's different now, one could say, because Biden is an incumbent president. The lay of the land is a lot different. But in terms of a scandal that's affecting and dominating the airwaves for quite some time, this is it. And about the fitness to serve. And Biden at this point in the game, he's completely lost the argument. This is the same guy who said that, the reason why I didn't do well in my debate performance is because I was traveling around the world. And first of all, let's be real, because that's not what he was doing. But if he was doing that, you're the president of the United States. You need to be able to do anything at any time. Take the call at 3 a.m. You don't get a day off, and you got to debate your opponent. I'm not even going to say you have to win the debate, but you have to be there. And Joe Biden was not there. He was not there mentally. He was barely there physically, and it was brutal. This is the same guy saying he almost fell asleep on the debate stage. How the hell is that going to inspire confidence if you are a sitting president and you're falling asleep on the debate stage? You cannot spin this as a positive. You cannot spin this as anything but an unmitigated disaster. I don't care what the polling shows. The polling shows Trump gaining, by the way. Not like a ridiculous amount nationally so far. Rasmussen fell out of the aggregate, though, and then you have other polls entering the aggregate. So it's not exactly a 1-to-1 correlation, but Donald Trump in every poll is gaining about an average of 2 points. I'm not talking about Reuters. I'm not talking about this weird INI TIPP poll, 2/3 of which is pre-debate. But you look at the rest of the polls here, Donald Trump leading by 2.4%. Yahoo News, he's up by 2. I think in the expanded sample, he's up by 4. That was a recent poll that had Joe Biden leading. And now Donald Trump takes a 2 or a 4-point lead. He's opening up a big lead on their previous poll. So he just keeps gaining. And this guy's been convicted. They've hit him with everything. Now his sentencing gets delayed. And it's looking up for Donald Trump. But more notably, it's not looking up for Joe Biden. That's the main takeaway, and that's what the media is running with. Donald Trump, he doesn't have any events scheduled. He's quiet, and he should be quiet until the RNC. Why do you have to go out there? I'm not saying he shouldn't do any rallies, but what do you have to do at this point? You don't need to, do something to control the narrative, because the narrative right now in the media is being controlled against Joe Biden. And it's not the time to take the foot off the gas with the donations. It's not the time to take the foot off of the gas regarding anything, we cannot be complacent. Democrats are throwing in the towel, then we need to bury them. Democrats are going out there saying we need to focus on down ballot races. By the way, that doesn't work. I just want to throw that out there. It doesn't work. In a presidential year saying, I'm just going to, tank the presidency, but we're going to do well in the down ballot races. Who do you think is at the top of the ticket? It's Biden. Like, if I want to give money to down ballot candidates or just give that money to Trump, I'm going to give that money to Trump. Any point Trump gains in Ohio will help out Bernie Moreno. Any point he gains in Montana is going to help out Tim Sheehy. Any point that he gains in, Washington's 3rd, for example, is going to help out Kent. Any congressional candidate you want to talk about in any race in the country, Donald Trump gaining 1 vote usually means that person's going to vote down ballot Republican. So the fact that they're conceding the presidency, or at least some donors are, is stupid. I say let it happen because it's funny, but that doesn't mean that we need to take our foot off the gas either. They're acting like this is over. It's a done deal. Let it demoralize them. Let it not demoralize us, because we can't act like this is a done deal. You don't know what's going to happen. I know Democrats are calling to replace Biden. Gavin Newsom is standing with Biden. And like I said, it was never going to be Newsom. It's not going to be Whitmer. It's not going to be Michelle Obama or whatever other name you want to throw out there. I know a few, and we know a few, but when you're looking at it, it's just like, there's no way they're going to replace this guy with anybody except Kamala. You can't leapfrog her. She is historic. She's the arbiter of wokeness, basically, in their view. They picked her. They woke themselves into a box, and they're stuck in the box. They can't get out of it. You can't go to a white guy or even like somebody else, because Kamala Harris is definitely a roadblock to that. And in terms of Biden, his family, Hunter and Jill, are the ones encouraging him to stay in the race. There's been reports that Joe Biden's sister's very upset because of Jill Biden pushing him to go through this humiliation ritual. It's sad, but it's not sad in like a sympathy vote kind of way. It's sad as in a this guy needs to be out of office kind of way, which definitely doesn't bode too well for Biden's reelection odds. They were already so low to begin with, and now they're just plunging lower and lower and lower. They are digging the hole as deep as they can get. I don't know how much deeper they can dig this thing. And right now you're talking about the odds, Trump at 65, 66%, and the betting odds, Joe Biden at 16% odds of victory. I mean, definitely you talk about this debate. It just drove the stake through the media narrative that Joe Biden is fine and he's capable and Donald Trump was vindicated. It's like if anybody ever sees Biden go out there and act normal, probably going to mean that he's on drugs. But I think he was on drugs. He might have even had an earpiece. He had the moderators he wanted, the date he wanted, the time he wanted, the format he wanted, everything except the fact that he wasn't able to sit down, which I don't even know how that would have impacted the race at that point any differently. I mean, but either way, he got basically every single thing he wanted. He spent a week preparing. The media hyped him up instead of downplaying. And what do you think happened? Now everybody after the debate, even on CNN, is saying replace Biden. MSNBC saying replace Biden. Jake Tapper sweeping it up for Trump, talking to the Biden campaign people. I mean, it's true. Biden's a liar. He lied about Afghanistan. He just denied it ever happening for some reason. He lied and said people are getting pregnant by their sisters raping them. And that's why, these are abortions that are taking place. It's never happened before. He said we beat Medicare. I don't even know what the hell that means. There's so many things Biden said that were just out of line. His arguments were incoherent. When they were coherent, he was lying. He was peddling hoaxes. Charlottesville again, which Snopes debunked. You have so many things that are going on, so many things that are happening here, and it just was a recipe for disaster. And the fallout, how many days have we been on this fallout? It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th night of the fallout. They don't know what's going to happen. It's unlikely they replace him. And honestly, if they replace Biden with Kamala Harris, she's less popular than he is. She's less popular than Hillary Clinton was. She's extraordinarily unpopular. And worst of all, she's tied directly to this administration. That's the worst thing. If you did replace Biden with somebody else, if you found a way, maybe you could say, well, they're not directly tied to the administration, but still, it's not just about the cognitive decline, which is a big part of it, but you talk about the economic situation in this country where nobody can afford anything. You talk about the state of foreign affairs where you have all these conflicts that are popping up overseas when Trump was a relatively, stable figure, a peace president, America first, but still strong on the world stage to the point where we didn't have to get wrapped up into the conflicts, even if these neocons wanted us to be wrapped into these conflicts. And you talk about immigration. We had a border that wasn't perfect, but Biden just blew it up, basically. We have no border. We're not building any wall. We're not having remain in Mexico. All the policies that we're starting to get the border on the right pathway, we don't exactly have those policies in place anymore. And the coalition Biden had to begin with, it's gone. I really fail to see how Biden can win, aside from the fact that if we just sit home and don't turn out and be complacent. And maybe that's like the real psyop at play here. Personally, I don't know. I don't know what's going to be at play. But we have to get out and vote. We can't take our foot off the gas. We have to keep going. We have to keep fighting. I mean, we still have 4 months to go, 2-3 months. Everybody in chat should make a plan to vote on the first possible day that they can vote. regardless of when it is, depending on the state. We need people voting as soon as possible. Do it in person early, or get the absentee, drop it off. Yeah, you don't have to do it by mail. You shouldn't. I wouldn't do it by mail personally, but either way, if you get a ballot mailed to you, it's one thing. But either way, it doesn't matter how you vote. We need to vote. That's the bottom line. Trump has stated that many times. That's what we need to be doing. We need to make sure that we bank as many ballots as possible. And then on election day, just go in and do what we need to do to make sure that we can just finalize this joke of an administration and make sure that it's going to stay in the past and not have it go on for another 4 years, because it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. It's not even just Biden. It's the people around Biden. It's what they're doing to our country, our economy, everything. Nobody can afford anything. You have open borders. You have illegal aliens living in luxury hotels instead of, people that are on vacation or whatever, because nobody can afford to go on vacation anymore. So they just, stock up these places with illegals. You got homeless people, veterans on the street, etc. There's so many things going on right now under this administration. It's gotten a hell of a lot worse under this administration. The American people want some sort of change, and we know that. That's why Donald Trump has been in the best political position of his life. That's why all of these indictments and convictions have backfired, and now the sentencing date's being pushed back even further, which some people will say it's going to be close to the election. I don't think it's necessarily going to do anything but backfire at this point. And honestly, if they really were going to sentence him to jail, I really feel as if they would just happen to just sentence him right now, because it would steal the thunder away from Biden and his poor debate performance. But they're not doing that. I don't know what they're going to do to him. Are they going to really give him jail time? Even if they do, he's probably not going to go to jail before the election because of the appeal process. So, like I've said, Democrats are in a really tough bind. They're in a really tough position. They've overplayed their hand on everything over the past 8 to 9 years. They have no arguments left. And now, they're facing reckoning before the election. That's what this is. They're the ones now that are being put through the humiliation ritual. They're infighting with their party 2 months before early ballots are supposed to go out. Like, this is what they're doing. They could be spending time attacking Trump and picking apart things Trump has said or that Trump wants to do. They're not doing that whatsoever. You might have some fringe, far left conspiracy minded leftists that are doing that. But in terms of the mainstream media, they are on Biden's case. They've been lied to. They're probably upset. Either that or they want him out of the way because they realize that they can't beat Trump, and then they've got something planned on later to switch the narrative. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But this guy's been an atrocious president, and everybody knows it. Whether they want to admit it or not is irrelevant. Whether they like Trump or not, it's irrelevant. This guy has become a laughingstock, even among a good portion of his own voter base. What is that exactly going to do? It's going to lower enthusiasm even more, and it's going to increase it for Republicans who are just, watching the show, but they have to vote. This whole complacency thing, oh, Trump's going to get there. We don't know that. You don't know what the polls could be wrong. A lot of things could happen. I don't think now is the time to take the foot off the gas, even though we are analyzing this objectively. It's not the time to take the foot off the gas, because this election is still very important. We don't want to be laughing and just keep laughing at Biden for 4 months on end so much, and then it's just going to blow up in his face. You have an RNC coming up. It's going to be huge. But the fact that Trump has the momentum going into the RNC, and then you get the RNC, you get 4 days in a row just controlling the media narrative for 4 days, and then, you keep on going and going and going. August, Biden gets the DNC, but it's just like they're in a tough bind. Biden goes out there in front of the media. This is supposed to be his comeback press conference. Read something off a teleprompter, looks more orange than Trump, because apparently now he's trying to steal Trump's look because he realizes that compared to Trump, he looks too pale. So then he goes out there, he's Orange Man now too, except this Orange Man is orange. We do have to say Orange Man bad on ironically for this one. And it's just a mess. It's just a mess. And he doesn't take any questions. He stumbles through his speech. He can only function 6 hours of the day. This guy's a clown, and he can't hide in the basement anymore. But even then, when he was hiding in the basement in 2020, you know what? At least, when he got in the debate stage, he was coherent. If he did what he did then, and he would have probably gotten destroyed in the election against Donald Trump. regardless of any shenanigans, would not have been even remotely enough to make up any difference. But now it's a different ballgame. And you have Donald Trump in the best, most measured, most presidential state in his career. And he's also ahead in the polls. And then you have Biden, who's a train wreck, a total disaster, claims he almost fell asleep on the debate stage. Who's advising this guy? Who are the advisors? They're shaking up the campaign, just like remember DeSantis last year? Oh, how many reboots did they go through just to falter and lose even more support? When you're rebooting the campaign, it rarely works. You need a genius behind the campaign. You need somebody who's going to steer the ship in the other direction. But Biden doesn't have that whatsoever. He doesn't have that type of individual to steer the ship in the direction that it needs to be steered in. And all this media coverage of the debate is honestly worse than the debate itself for Biden. Because if they were just leaving it alone, it'd be a different situation. But now Biden's in a really, really, really tough bind. They can't replace him without all these legal challenges, forfeiting a bunch of money, having to, put somebody in there probably more unpopular than Joe Biden. Like, there's no feasible way to replace him. I know Lloyd Doggett from Texas, and you have a couple other people that are floating him stepping down. Jim Clyburn even said it would have to be with Kamala Harris. Gavin Newsom said the same thing back last year in his debate on Fox News with DeSantis. But now Gavin Newsom, he's going to stand with Biden. He's going to try to rally the troops behind Biden instead of actually trying to usurp the position of the nomination. Which, again, if Democrats ran somebody else against Biden, they probably at least would have come close to beating him in a primary, and then maybe now they could have the ability to claim the mantle, but they didn't do that. They gaslit the public. He's fine, and the narrative has blown up in their faces. Donald Trump leads by 3 points in Pennsylvania. He leads by 5 in Arizona. He leads by 7 in North Carolina. He leads by 2 in Michigan. I mean, there's no pathway. 4 in Georgia. And a lot of these polls are pre-debate. Imagine where they are post-debate, because a lot of the networks or a lot of the media markets that watched the debate were in swing states that were the highest rated. You look at Minneapolis. You look at Detroit. You look at Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Atlanta. They were all in there. Phoenix was the only one missing from the top 10. I'm sure it was probably in the top 20. So whichever way you want to look at it, those are where the undecideds are. The Midwest, Biden, skin of his teeth, margin for error, lost it already. He's losing it even more with this performance and with this coverage in the media. Nobody has any confidence in this guy now. I mean, they look at their leader and he's like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on with this guy? Exactly. So we're going to get to super chats. We've covered quite a bit so far of what we've really needed to cover, and I'm sure we'll cover any loose ends on in the super chats. But you look at this, you got Jared Golden, you got the Democrats conceding down ballot. I mean, or conceding and moving to down ballot, at least in some of the donors. Like I've said, this is not the time for complacency, but this is a time to, I would say, kind of enjoy the way the election cycle is going. But come voting time, you got to be motivated to vote. We need people that are going to pledge to vote. Type of 1 in chat is your pledge to vote. Type of 1 saying you will. And if you're under the age of 18, that you will get somebody else to vote that you know would not vote otherwise. So put a 1 in chat. That's your pledge. We got a lot of 1s. Those are all votes right there. Those are all votes. See? Those are all votes. Deal with it. That's a lot of 1s. That's a lot of 1s. And that's with slow mode on too, by the way. Those are not people spamming every second they get. So keep that in mind. We got 1,500 people in chat. We're going to get to super chats. Again, make sure you guys like the stream. Make sure you lock in your support for the channel. Make sure you subscribe. We're so close to 184,000 subscribers. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're knocking on the door. We're 15 away. I know we have actually 14 away. I know we have 14 people in chat who probably are not yet subscribed. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Let's get there on stream as we speak. Let's get there. The most comprehensive election analysis you will ever find on this platform. Daily uploads, streamed several times a week, and the number one election night coverage, as many people have said, on this platform. So, without further ado, we're going to get to super chats. Jared the American says, who are your three most underrated presidents? Rep. Mine are Grover Cleveland, McKinley, and Taft. Those are good options. I would throw Polk in there as well. James K. Polk is very underrated. It did a lot to expand the nation through Manifest Destiny. Did it in one term and stepped down and retire. How good is that? I mean, that's incredible. But the others, I think you've listed. Coolidge is another one, but I think he's getting more recognition now. James for 50 says, if Trump wins and Alito and Thomas retire so that Trump can appoint younger people, who do you think Trump should appoint? Also, do you think that there is any chance that Roberts would ever retire if Trump wins so he could appoint a younger Chief Justice? It's possible. And you might say it's not, but you have to understand it through these people's shoes. They know what's going on. And Roberts has been a rhino to a large extent, but the way that people on the left have attacked the court and attacked the decisions, including the decisions that he's sided on, it's very possible that Roberts could step down. And I don't know who's going to replace these people. I don't know a lot of judges that are out there that could be put on that court. So I'm not entirely sure. But there's a lot of them. A lot of people will say the woman from Florida or the judge down there that's handling the Trump case, I don't know if that's exactly going to be who he puts on the Supreme Court. I think there's a lot of great people, and hopefully he doesn't have to listen just to whatever not the Heritage Foundation, but the Federalist Society says, because they kind of were coalescing behind Barrett, and she's kind of been a letdown. And honestly, there's been, I'd say Gorsuch has probably been the best one of the three, but there's been a couple that have been not exactly as solid. But I don't know. That's a good question. We should do some research on it. We're going to do videos eventually about what a Trump second term would look like, and I think we could answer that question a little bit better then. So I don't know. I mean, there was another woman that was in the running. I think, was it Rushing was her name, that a lot of people were saying she's very solid, but she was like super right wing and might not have been able to get through. Maybe that would be an interesting selection. But there's other people that are possibly on the short list. I've heard of a couple of them. I just don't remember their names offhand. If the left is upset and if the left is throwing a tantrum about it, it's probably for the better. And I'm sure they'll do that regardless of who he picks, but you can tell if it's a performative tantrum or if it's like a I'm actually worried tantrum, and I'd rather them throw the latter. Mike Oxard says Joe Biden is America's first cadaver-in-chief. Roman Wolf Gaming says New Jersey, Oregon, New Hampshire. Winning looks good there. 270 polls. Well, Oregon, that's a little bit of a stretch. Honestly, New Hampshire, I think of those three, does have a shot. Mandorian for 10 says, I wonder what would happen if Biden drops out and no other primary takes place to put somebody else in his place. Would Trump win in advance? Well, they'd have to replace him before the convention. If he dropped out post-convention, there's no way that would happen. They wouldn't allow it to happen unless he actually passed away or something, which they would have to, I guess Harris would assume the presidency, and that would cause a electoral crisis. But I think that they would be voting for Harris to basically be the president at that point. Let's see. Seeking Findings says any point he gains in Virginia helps out Hung Cow and all the House candidates. I'm from Virginia. It's a red state, but the Democrats cheated. It'd be too big to rig. Well, it's not what it used to be. I'll say that. Even if you take out all the shenanigans, it's not a Trump state. Now, it could be this time because Biden screwed up so much. But, I mean, Biden, what by 10? I mean, there are shenanigans. Don't get me wrong, but at the state level, it's been more Republican than at the federal level. But is that changing? Possibly, I think so. It depends also. I feel like if Trump makes Youngkin his VP pick, I think he's got a much better shot in Virginia. I think he's got a better shot in Pennsylvania. I think he'd do better pretty much everywhere. But, this is something that some people might not like. But at the same time, who else is he going to pick? You really think you can make the case for Doug Burgum over Glenn Youngkin? I can't help you with that. You could say maybe 2028, Burgum would be a better, or he would be less likely to get the nomination, but you don't know what's going to happen in 2028. 2013, people thought it'd be either Chris Christie or Jeb Bush as the nominee. That didn't happen. Everyone thought, or a lot of people thought, DeSantis would be, at least have a shot against Trump even early in 2023, and that never happened. So you kind of see where things are right now. It's like, yeah, I don't think you could really predict 2028 based off the VP. They'll get a boost, but that boost is like short-lived. If you actually have somebody else who runs and wins like a primary debate or two, that could definitely just shape the whole course of that primary. Luann Bowling says, will there be a second debate? I don't think so. Well, you'd have to talk to Biden about that one. Liam Greenville says Biden led in over 8,062,514 illegals, a 296% increase. That's true. He's probably led in a lot more than that. Those are the ones we know of. Top Gear Fan 2848 says, are we finally prepared to say Virginia's on the table? Yes. I think we're finally prepared to say it's on the table. It doesn't mean we're even guaranteed to win it, but I think it's been on the table, and it's even more now on the table than it was a month ago. Keith K98 for 20 says, who do you think would be the best candidate to replace Amy Klobuchar for Minnesota? I don't know if we're going to be able to beat her. We talk about down ballot effects, but she won by 20-something, 25 points in 2018. Maybe you get it down to like a 5 to 10 point win, but I just don't know what candidate really is running that's strong. I know you have Royce White, but is he really going to be able to go out there and win a campaign when he's got, some interesting things in his past? I don't really know if I could say so. FM 32047 says New Mexico Dems historically underperform presidential candidates in the Senate by around 5 points. If joke Biden doesn't take it by 5, Heinrich's going to lose. Well, we'll see. Heinrich is an incumbent, so he kind of has an advantage that Lujan didn't have in 2020. Age of Deceit for 20 says, what are your thoughts on Mark Robinson for VP or future nominations? Well, he's running for governor of North Carolina. He has to win that first. I don't think he's a VP choice for Trump that Trump would want to consider. He does have a lot of baggage. A lot of it goes away, though, when he wins. If you're going to be governor, all the baggage is out the window. You have the mandate. And maybe in the future he could run for president or some sort of federal office, Senate, or president in like 2032 when he's done being governor of North Carolina for a couple terms. But, as of right now, I just would have to say that I don't think he's on the table for VP. I think in terms of VP picks, you're not going to have somebody that everybody likes. A lot of people will have something negative to say, whether it's Burgum, whether it's Vance, whether it's Youngkin, whether it's Ben Carson or whoever you want to throw out there. There's going to be a wing of this party that is not going to be super content with them. And that's really what it comes down to. I think you can make the case for Youngkin being the best for electoral purposes. I think that the whole Youngkin is like a rhino thing is very unfounded. I think it's true that the establishment's been friendly to him, but they've also been friendly to other people like Burgum. Even, I wouldn't say Vance, they've been friendly to Vance, but they did make a movie about his life. Vance wasn't ever Trumper in 2018. I'm not going to hold it against him now. But in terms of making that person number 2 in command, I can't exactly say that he really has enough pros to outweigh the cons, because I don't think he helps out electorally. So again, whoever Trump picks, he picks. I'm cool with it. But I don't think it's going to be a pick that everybody's going to like. The entire base or the online base is going to like. But again, the base is much larger than the online base for sure. Eris Walker says, if things go well, especially based on this mess we saw last week for Senate Republicans in November, how long might they control it for potentially? Possibly decades. That's not a joke. They could control the Senate for decades. The map is not looking good for Democrats in 2024. 2026 and 2028, not really all that much better. And things can definitely change. If they have an underwhelming year, then maybe you could say it could flip back in 2028 or whenever, but there's not really enough, pathways for that to happen if Donald Trump has a convincing victory and they end up with 53, 54 Senate seats. Because at that point, you're probably going to be able to defend them at least for another, 6 to 8 years or so, just all things considered. But you never know what's going to happen. You never know. Slot 7 for 10 says the biggest vulnerability for them with Biden is their superiority complex being exposed as shallow and unsafe, just like the anti-whiteism Trump spoke against. I mean, it is technically true that these people have this complex where they just gaslight the public, and if you disagree with them on anything, you're a conspiracy theorist. These are the same people that are saying now that CNN is right-wing because they didn't openly jump in to, criticize things Trump said during the debate, but they didn't do it to Biden either. They were being fair, and that's something that Jake Tapper acknowledged. Mike Oxard says it's really looking like 2024's 1892 got a vote. It's true, we got a vote. Frosty Thundertrod says, at what point do the list of battleground states get updated? They'll be updated. I guess you would say we already kind of updated them. But if you're talking about like RCP or one of these other networks, you'd have to talk to them. I mean, Minnesota and Virginia have stayed battleground states with this channel for about a month or two, and they're going to stay that way, even though I think that Trump is probably going to fall short in at least one of them as of now. We still have a very polarized electorate. You got about 46% of the country that would vote against Biden if Trump was, I guess you would say incapacitated and vice versa. So we'll see. Spartan Speedrun says, so what are the percent chances that Biden is replaced right now? I think it probably would be around 30. Some people would say it's higher. Some people would say it's lower. A couple weeks ago, I would have told you it'd be 5 to 10%. I still think it's lower, but 25 to 30 is about right. Any day that goes by that he's not replaced, it definitely lowers it a bit, especially when you have people like Obama, Bill Clinton, all these other people coming to Biden's defense. So Sam Madsen says, will we hold the New Hampshire governorship? Well, I think so. I mean, I think we'd hold it regardless, but I think if you look at the polls there statewide, it's a little bit different for Republicans than nationwide for sure. Seems like if you look at the Republican side of things, both candidates seem capable of winning and outrunning Trump in New Hampshire for sure. You talk about Ayotte and Chuck Morse, both of them are relatively viable. And then you look on the Democrat side, and they've got a relatively divided primary field, very late primary. Ayotte's led all the polling. I think Ayotte wins. It's going to be within, 5, but I think she wins. And then as for the presidency, it's still going to go down the wire. The Voices says, hot take, Youngkin is objectively the best VP pick. I don't understand the objection to Youngkin other than, some people I don't like him. Because that's pretty much all it is. But at the end of the day, you're trying to win an election, and if people that are iffy on Trump are placated by somebody who is also better than the other options, why is it a bad selection? I've yet to hear as to why. He's somebody that can sweep it up for Trump effectively. He's never backstabbed Trump or critiqued Trump. As far as we can look into his record, even going back in 2021, when he was first running for governor, he had a very solid record overall. The establishment just likes him because he won in a state that's blue. I'm not saying he's a MAGA guy, but I'm not saying that he's anti-Trump either, or that he's like a backstabber, because you could make the case that all these other people like Burgum would be too. I think Ben Carson, of all the people that people mentioned, would be the most loyal, but I don't think he's going to be selected. I think people just see him as too old. I don't know what he adds to the ticket. I've also heard behind the scenes that Trump is now thinking about Vance again, more so because he just feels as if he's up by too much to the point where it's not going to hurt him if he does it, which I don't know if that's true. It doesn't mean that he's going to pick him, but I've heard that he might be leaning a little bit. He's still shopping around. So he said he made his pick, but maybe he was just head faking the media. We'll see. Logan G with a member chat says, I know Hogan's a rhino, but does the current Dem fiasco give him any chance of winning? No, it does not. Maryland's Maryland. If he was running in a state like New Jersey, we could talk about it, but this isn't even New Jersey. This is Maryland. Tommy Robinson says 25 House Democrats will call for Biden to withdraw per the New York Post. The dam is broken. Biden will withdraw from the race before the convention. We'll still see. They're running out of time. To get him off the ballot in some states, it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of lawfare, and even then it may not be successful. They're pretty much screwed. I mean, they have to go with this guy or Harris, and they don't want to go with Harris because they know Harris is more unelectable than Biden, and they're just trying to weather the storm. And in turn, they're going to put this guy, I mean, they got to know they're not going to win. They might throw the election, one could say, or at least would try, but Trump's on the other side, so maybe they're not going to do it willingly. John Cordisco's Corner says Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, 24 for America. I mean, that's basically what they'd be doing if they replaced Biden. Who would Harris's VP be is another question, because she can't pick Newsom because Newsom is from California. I mean, she basically is going to have to, I don't even know what she's going to have to do, but it would be a big mess. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's just too much chaos. And if you're doing that, it'd be 3 months before the election. By the time you perfect a campaign, anoint the replacement, it'd be 3 months before the election. That's not a good position to be in. That's not a winning position to be in at all. I mean, I don't understand why people think it'd be like a great idea for them to do it. American Exceptionalist says, met Bill Eigel today. Great man who's running a true America First conservative campaign. Please make a video on the Missouri Senate race to spread the message. I think you're talking about the governor's race, not the Senate race, because the Senate race is, Yeah, he's running for governor. So we'll talk about the governor's races. We've got Missouri, we've got North Carolina, we've got New Hampshire, we got a few different states right now. Sam Madsen says, can we hold the North Carolina Senate seat in the Trump midterm? I think so. North Carolina is a state that in midterm years, black turnout's relatively low. Republicans are usually in a favorable position. I think they probably could hold it. I don't know if Tillis is going to run or be primaried out or somebody else is going to come along, but I think it's possible they hold it. I don't think it's a guarantee. I think it would still be close. Depends who the Democrats are on, but they don't have anybody on their bench. Maybe if Stein loses, he could run for it, but if you lose to Robinson, who they basically call a really weak candidate, then I don't know what the main takeaway would be going forward for that. Joe Schmo says, which Biden replacement candidate has the best chance to beat Trump? The left's meltdown over this has been an all-time fun to watch. I don't know. I think Harris would do worse. I think that Gavin Newsom isn't going to probably do it. I think he would be attacked on his record as the governor of the least popular state in the entire country. And he's got some skeletons in his closet. So does Whitmer. Anyone talking about Whitmer? I mean, she staged her own, or helped stage her own kidnapping, according to the FBI data. I mean, it's not talked about enough. She got by in 2022 with a favorable electorate against a weak candidate. If she goes to the national stage, I don't think it's really necessarily going to bode too well for her. I think she might do better. She'd do better in Michigan than Biden, but I don't think that would necessarily translate to Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. So I think they're screwed either way. I think Biden is still arguably their best bet, which is why they're going to stick with him. That doesn't necessarily mean he's guaranteed to still have a very good shot, but it doesn't mean that he can't win either. So, like I said, get out and vote, period. Let's see. Jay Shug says, with the Supreme Court ruling, do you think Trump or any justice is physically in danger? Well, I mean, presidents do very unpopular things, and they rarely are put in serious danger. You have secret, I don't know if they have Secret Service, but they definitely have some sort of security, and they put up the the barriers around the Supreme Court. And we knew what would happen with immunity. We knew what would happen with some of these other cases. Chevron, that's like a whole entire new thing going on. But I don't know. I think that, you're talking about Trump more so than the Supreme Court in the Super Chat. Or, well, you did say any justice. Never mind. I don't think they're in danger. I mean, Trump is protected by the Secret Service. But you never know. You have to stay on watch for sure if you're in that position. Eris Walker says, I live in Virginia. My problem I have is with Youngkin as VP, it opens up the Virginia governor, giving Dems complete control to pass crazy laws. Well, first of all, Youngkin can't run for re-election, and the lieutenant governor's a Republican. She doesn't like Trump a whole lot, but she is a Republican. So it's not like it fully opens up the governorship, and she probably would be the nominee in 2025 regardless. So the fact that she gets to be an incumbent would probably boost the odds of Republicans keeping that governorship. So I don't think Youngkin as VP would be really bad for Virginia necessarily, because he would basically be governor for 1 year anyways past that point, and he can't even run for re-election, and you also just get a Republican governor in place regardless, maybe a weaker one, but still in terms of helping Trump win the presidency, I think it's a much better trade-off and definitely could help him win Virginia, which would be huge. Big Show Entertainment Network Ben says, with some Dems conceding defeat to Trump, don't you think they're suppressing their turnout? Well, I think so, but the main takeaway is we're still far away from the election. We don't know what's going to happen, and we need to make sure that we turn out and that we don't get complacent and that our turnout's not going to be weak. We don't want a repeat of 2022. I don't think it's going to be that egregious, but I really think that we need to make sure that we turn out and vote, period. End of discussion. We need to make sure we do it. We've had so many people over the past week flip to Donald Trump that we've seen anecdotally, that I've seen anecdotally. The polls are showing it across the board. So we just need to do our part and make sure that everybody votes, period. Otherwise, it could be an unmitigated disaster. If we can't win this, we don't deserve. We don't deserve to win. We don't deserve a country at this point if we can't win this, regardless of shenanigans, whatever. We have to win it, period. We have to win. I don't want to hear about anything else. We got to do this. We got to get it done. You know, we have so much. There's so many things on our side. We just need to swamp them at the ballot box, period. We need to swamp them at the ballot box. That's it. End of discussion. So that's it for Super Chats. We're going to go for another 10, 15 minutes. If you guys want to send in any more Super Chats, feel free. We'll look in regular chat as well. You know, it's not a very long stream. Definitely, we've done a lot of streams lately. We streamed on what was it, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Now it's again on Tuesday. Probably not going to stream again until Sunday unless something drastic happens, like a Biden dropout speech or something of that nature. But make sure you guys do like the stream down below. Did we hit 184? We're close to hitting 184. I don't know if we're going to hit it, but we're close. Did we hit it? We're one away. We are one away. Somebody, one person out of the 1,400 people in chat. We got one person that just needs to hit that button and boom, we're there. We're there. Has a recent poll come out of Hawaii? It has not. I've seen nothing out of Hawaii. I've seen nothing out of anything recently besides, I think, New Mexico. Oh, the leaked polling. They leaked internal polling that has Biden down by like 10 in a bunch of swing states. Like, that's not a good position to be in. Your own internals, they're leaked. I mean, it's never good. It's just never good. If internal polling was leaked for Trump and he's only up by 1 in Georgia, it'd be doom for Trump. But their internal polls having Biden down by 10, folks, that's brutal. That is brutal. That is brutal. Let's see. Who would I like for VP? Trump's going to make his decision. I've given my takes on it. I don't think that the VP matters as much as some people make it out to be, but it definitely is something that can add to your ticket. You don't want it to hurt you. You don't want to roll the dice and take a gamble, pick somebody that's going to hurt the ticket, and go from there. But you also don't want somebody who's too much of like a rhino that spits in the face of the base and is going to subvert Trump's agenda. And I don't know. I see more about Burgum. I feel like we need to be a little bit on guard about him because he does seem to have some tendencies, or at least did in the primary, that are not exactly all that great. But if Trump picks him, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, this is horrible. But I think that Trump needs to make the right decision. And I trust his judgment to make that right decision. Logan Ajee says climate protesters are absolutely terrible. Yeah, I saw what they did to Stonehenge. They spray painted it or something. It was a mess. Lovely Six says if Trump wins, should Alito and Thomas step down a few years into his second term? Yeah, I think they should step down probably in 2025, if not early 2026. And maybe they could do it in different years. But they do need to step down. And Roberts, I think, should, and he might even do it too. But Thomas has been there for a long time. I mean, so have Alito and Roberts, been there for about almost 20 years. Michigan Nationalist says, if Trump picks Youngkin, can we skip Pennsylvania? No, we are not skipping anything, but I think that he definitely helps you out in the Philly suburbs, in the suburbs as a whole, because the suburbanites who don't like Biden, it gives them permission to vote for Trump. It's a permission slip. And that's what I see the VP as. People that are like, oh, we need him to pick Vivek or even the Ben Carson, it doesn't give those people a permission slip. And you could say, well, isn't that the same argument that the Haley for VP people use? And it's really not, because Youngkin is not on that level of rhino or anything like that. But I'm talking about permission slip. It's why I was initially open to the Rubio idea, even though Rubio's had like more of like a MAGA turn over the past 5 to 10 years, to the point where does he even give the suburbanites as big of a permission slip? But Youngkin is somebody who's kind of always had these tendencies that are relatively solid, but he has to hide them because he's in a blue state. But people like him, independents like him, and he knows how to win places that Republicans don't do super well in and do better in the suburbs. I think he'd be an asset to the ticket. I haven't really seen a big argument against him. That also doesn't apply to Burgum. That also doesn't apply to a lot of these other people. I'm not saying he's perfect. You could pick apart his record. You could say he could have done more here and there. But I'm just saying for electoral purposes, you can't really knock the idea but then praise Burgum. Because even in regards to 2028, you don't know who the nominee is going to be in 28. It doesn't instantly coronate Youngkin. If the establishment then starts to rally behind Youngkin, then there will likely be a movement against him in the primary, just like there was against, Haley and DeSantis. People were going against them who initially were praising them 2-3 years ago for doing something. So that's the way I see it. But in terms of the VP, yeah, I think he needs to make a smart decision, something that could help him out or at least not hurt him. I don't think any of these people he's considering is going to hurt him. But that's the way it is. Well, we got to win. I don't want to take my foot off the gas. I want to deliver the final blow. Like that's the mood I'm in, is deliver the final blow, not, it's true that, when they're infighting, it's like friendly fire is going to help us out. That's true, especially this close to the election, but it's not a done deal. It's not over. This race isn't fully done. As much as let the left say this race is over, because the more they say it, the more true it eventually will become. But we don't have to have that mindset, because that mindset usually is the mindset that ends up biting you in the ass at the end. And we're going to lose to this guy who's going to be there until he's 86 years old, and he can't complete a sentence on his own now. Trump goes off teleprompter and goes on some rants that are a little wacky, and the media acted like, oh, this is the end of Trump. And then Biden without a teleprompter, we finally beat Medicare and people are getting raped by their sisters and getting pregnant. Like, this is This is the Biden. That's Biden. That's Biden for you. Michigan Nationalist says, how do we stop split ticketing in the Senate? I think the polls are overestimating it. I think the polls will tighten in the Senate races in regards to the presidential races as we get closer to Election Day. But I don't think it's going to happen as much, just because I think people understand that when they vote, it's a little bit of a different situation. If you're like, I'm going to vote for Trump, I'm just going to vote Republican down ballot. Some states have an option, like Michigan, for example. You can vote straight ticket Dems, straight ticket GOP. You fill in that bubble and then boom, it's over. I mean, that definitely can impact the polling. And the presidential races are at the top of the ticket always. So it's not like, if you're on a weak candidate for governor, it's going to hurt you. Reverse coattails do not exist. I don't know how many times we have to go over it on this channel, but it's true. Anyone saying Robinson will hold down Trump in North Carolina, it's the opposite. Trump will pull him up. Same thing goes for Lake in Arizona, even though Arizona typically is known for splitting tickets. But I can't imagine that there's going to be that many when Lake has tied herself so extensively to Trump. If Trump wins the state by like 3 or 4, she's probably got at least a 50-50 shot, you'd think. But who knows? We'll change the predictions as we get closer. Age of Deceit says, is Hunter in the White House helping to steer the crime family ship? He doesn't have a clearance. Well, if he's the one making the decisions, let him. The Democrats have fumbled the whole I'm more competent than you argument. The RNC's gotten an overhaul this year, and the Democrats are in complete and total disarray. I mean, this is not the Democrat versus Republican dichotomy we saw the past few years. The midterms were a disaster. But Republicans have rebuilt themselves. Democrats are just imploding on themselves because they never had a stable coalition or stable arguments that would have held up over time. And now it's completely just going down the drain. Let them fearmonger, because that's all they have. They have fear-mongering about things that don't have anything to do with Trump. How much have we heard about Project 2025? That's apparently some Heritage Foundation thing where they're trying to staff the White House. Apparently that's evil and that's the worst thing ever, and it's fascism or whatever terminology they want to use, as the fact that A, if it has anything to do with Trump's agenda specifically, which it doesn't, or B, the fact that the Democrats haven't done the complete opposite to Washington for the past how many decades, and we haven't fought back. I hope it's real. And it's not what they say it is. It's not like Trump's gonna, this manifesto is Trump's agenda. That's not Trump's agenda. Trump has an agenda. Some parts of it are in a correlation with Trump's agenda. You talk about immigration. Yeah, you're going to have to deport all these people who are here illegally, like the American public wants to happen. But other than that, it's a lot of it is just overblown. What else do they have? They've thrown everything at Trump, new hoaxes thrown at Trump in the debate, and nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. It's all about Biden. So that's kind of a big, big deal. Let's see. We have new super chats. Alcides Perez for 2. Ken Bro says, if the Uniparty and the deep state don't want Trump in the White House, he won't be in the White House. Well, they never wanted him there in the first place, but he was there, so be careful. They're trying to, a lot of what they've been doing over the past couple of years has been trying to pass legislation to limit the presidential powers abroad and things like that. So it is deeper than that. Yes, the Uniparty is real. Yes, the deep state is real. Are they going to be enough to stop the will of the people? Not necessarily. In most cases, yes, but Trump is just that transformative figure that they can't exactly trample on, and when you think they have him cornered, he just happens to pop up somewhere else. This guy's got the worst enemies. They completely crumble at his feet every single time, and this time it took a while, but this is all part of the plan. 4 years, these past 4 years have been brutal, but if Donald Trump comes back in the White House, it probably, at the end of 4 years, assuming everything, we get the economy back on track, it will have been worth it, one could say. I think most people agree. If he gets a second term, yeah, if he gets by in 2020, beats shenanigans, whatever, wins by the skin of his teeth, it would have been a great celebration. He'd still be in the White House. He'd probably be far better off. But what about the future of the country? You might have Mike Pence as the nominee right now going up against Gavin Newsom. Who knows what would have happened? Who knows what would have happened? I mean, we're definitely in this timeline, but you're talking about a Trump popular vote victory with a trifecta. He wouldn't have been able to do anything over those 4 years. Now he's got this trifecta. It's an entirely different ball game now. Trump is in a great position. Let's see. We have Aquafan saying, I believe in reverse coattails. Amy Klobuchar will drag Biden over the finish line in Minnesota, but maybe that's more of an exception to the rule. I disagree. She might do well. She might do exceptionally well, but that's more ticket splitting than reverse coattails. If reverse coattails are to exist, it might be, this state might have like an abortion referendum that could drive up Democrat turnout if they don't like Biden, and that may be true, but I don't think it's going to be enough because that's going to be overshadowed by the presidential race. In my opinion, it's not like a midterm year where something like that would have a lot more pull, for sure. And a lot of states aren't even going to have that. So in the states that will, like Arizona, it seems like Donald Trump's going to be able to outrun it substantially. And even after the whole abortion thing took place, he went up in the polls. He's at the highest point ever. He's polling higher than, I don't think he's ever polled higher than he's polling right now in Arizona. You want to go back to 2016 in Arizona. Did he ever poll ahead of Hillary by 6 points in Arizona? I don't believe he ever did. I think his most highest polling point was the final one when he was up by 4. So, I mean, you look at that, you have to go all the way back to 2012 to find somebody polling above Trump in Arizona. It would be Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney won the state by 9.1%. Trump probably doesn't win it by that much, but he's going to probably win the state. Let's see. Alcides Perez says Pennsylvania added 222,000 new Republican voters. I mean, they've been definitely cutting into that registration gap. They're doing better in every county, and that's huge because they weren't in 2020. They were getting a lot of like ancestral Democrats on board, and I think they still are. But in terms of Pennsylvania, yeah, that's crucial because Eastern Pennsylvania, that's going to be decisive. If Trump improves in those counties we highlighted on that map by like 2% on aggregate, he's going to win. It doesn't take a lot to flip the state. So a little turnout drop in Philadelphia, Biden's screwed. And you look at what's going on in the rest of the region. I mean, it's crazy. Sam Madsen says, do Alito and Thomas pull a Ginsburg, or do they do the right thing and step down? Well, I think that they're probably smarter than that. I think they probably will step down. I don't think that they're really in the Ginsburg age range or health, because if you look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg, well, she was actually holding out for a Biden. She passed away inconveniently for the Democrats in September of 2020, and she definitely was holding out for a Democrat president at that point. But she was 87. If she retired in 2015, she would have been like 82, 81, 82. She thought probably Hillary was going to win, and I think that's why she did it, and it just wasn't enough. But either way, I think that they probably stepped down. Slot 7 says Trump Jr. is VP. Well, if Trump is going to make his son his VP, then I think it'd be off-putting to a lot of people. A Trump ticket, I mean, like, I'm not saying it would definitely like doom him ridiculously, but I mean, there's a lot of people who don't like the dynasty argument. They don't like that thing. But like I said, he's not going to pick his son, so it doesn't matter. It's not an argument that's worth getting into. Slot 7, or we did that one. Lee Burrs says, past 2 weeks were Reddit's 9/11 open dooming and previous bullshit riding with Biden subs inspires me to be somewhat confident in these post-debate polls. Yeah, because they know it. Because they know he screwed up. But also Trump did well. Trump didn't fall into their traps. They have to pick apart his debate performance just to find a little thing to get Trump on. That's how you know they're losing. They're losing badly. It's not even close. Vonda Thompson for 10 says, if Biden steps down now, can he pardon Hunter in both of his cases? He could. I mean, that would not be good for electoral purposes, honestly. It wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump takes office and pardons him for the gun charge. Because, first of all, Trump's probably going to pardon himself for the other stuff, and he'll do it to like appear bipartisan, so it doesn't like backfire his approval ratings for one, which I don't even think it would because everybody knows it's bogus. But two, the gun charge wasn't even what Hunter should be charged on. He should be charged on everything else, and the statute of limitations conveniently is gone for a lot of that stuff. So unless they find a way to twist the law like they did against Trump, I think Hunter's probably safe on that, and this gun case is just like something he probably doesn't even get jail time for, and I don't think they give Trump jail time either. So you never know. You never know. He could pardon Hunter, but we're not there yet. And that goes for both presidents. Who knows? Zona Tape says, can you speak on the 3 important counties in Arizona? We understand the importance of Maricopa, but elaborate on the state. Well, you have a lot of important counties in Arizona. You have Pima County, which is Tucson, which is also important, and it doesn't get a lot of coverage for some reason. But I don't know what you would say the third biggest county is. You could say it would be Pinal County or Yavapai County or Mojave County. There's a lot of counties that are very decently sizable in population, favorable for the Republicans. Yuma's looking better. Coconino is where Flagstaff is, but it's not really all that big. The county with Prescott in it is actually bigger in terms of the vote share than the county that Flagstaff is in. But Arizona as a whole, Maricopa is the state. That's like 60% of the population. I think Pima's another like 20-something. And then you have a few other counties that you got to get your margins up in, you shouldn't ignore. But Arizona, Maricopa is pretty much the state. But that doesn't mean you have to ignore the other ones, basically. Some are more Republican than others. Some are more Democrat than others. So all right, this will be the last call for Super Chats. We got 1,400 people in chat. Did we hit 184,000? We're knocking on the door, and we hit it. We did it, 184K. We're getting closer. We're close to 200,000 almost. Let's get there. We got to get to 185 first, and we'll see. But we have a long way to go before the election, but it's still knocking on the door. The RNC is going to be taking place in, I think, 2 weeks? Not even 2 weeks it's going to start. That's going to be crazy. We got to make sure that we're going to be streaming every night after the RNC. There's going to be a lot going on. I'm sure we don't know the guests just yet, but we'll see. Hopefully we can continue to get a lot of people in chat, get a lot of people engaged, because the more engagement, not only is it good for the channel, it's good for Trump, it's good for the election. It's good to make sure that we get as many people out to vote and make sure they take other people out to vote, because we are our own ground game. We hear about the ground game. We hear about a lot of stuff, but we are our own ground game, period. So that's important. Someone said, I heard some people in Oakland County got their absentee ballots today. Well, that probably was for the primary, not for the presidential election, because there's the down ballot primary coming up soon. Bailey Spangler says, we can't get complacent, act like we're behind. I agree. Lee Burrs says, does the average voter care about Project 2025? No, mainly because it's like trying to get the average voter to care about Project 2030 on the Democrat side, or Agenda 2030 or whatever it's called, or the World Economic Forum or something. Biden didn't even mention it in the debate. It's a very online argument. It's not going to come into fruition, probably, for one. For two, it's overblown. Some people might get deceived by the psyop, but they have to invent reasons not to vote for Trump because there are no reasons not to vote for Trump. They have to pull things out of their rear end, hoaxes. And this is kind of another hoax, although it's kind of real, but it's not really Trump's doing. But if it happens, it's probably going to be a net positive anyways, because you'll be replacing liberal bureaucrats with ones that actually are more conservative-minded. It doesn't really impact Trump or Trump's policy necessarily. Trump has a good agenda. I'm not saying he doesn't, but it's not fully correlated. It's just staffers. They want to staff the White House or staff departments, which there's other groups doing it too. And there's liberal groups that do it. They're very far left manifestos. We don't talk about that for some reason, but they're real. They exist. And we'll see. If the Biden campaign gets super desperate, they might go into that. But the main reason why they're not is because whenever they do it, I feel like it just makes them look like crazy people. This is Biden against Trump, not some weird manifesto that some guy wrote that has nothing to do with Trump, or the same thing that has nothing to do with Biden. I mean, Biden's not running against the Heritage Foundation. He's running against Donald Trump. And that's pretty much it. Trump could just come out and say, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't have anything to do with this. And he really doesn't have much to do with it. I think he met with one of the people. But even so, it's like his policies are not really, they'd be good for the country, some of them, but it's not going to be implemented the way that a lot of people think. Oh, Trump's going to take power and then he's going to be a dictator because of this thing I can't even articulate. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And we do need the president to be strong and to have a lot of power if you want to undo the damage of the past 4 years. You need to be powerful. Biden's a dictator. He's just a stupid dictator, doesn't know what the hell he's doing, is ruining the country. You have people around him that act like dictators that willingly want to see the country fail. It's a little bit of a problem. Did I see Kamala get community noted? I did. Will I be at the convention in Milwaukee? I don't even know how to. I've looked for tickets and possible media passes. I don't see any available, so probably not. Besides, I want to stream it, and I don't really want to have like a stream set up in the Milwaukee place or whatever. Even though that would be cool, it would be probably a lot of work to get going, and I think I'll just save my money and watch it from home and stream just like we did for the debate, and go from there. But I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see. But we are going to end the show. So anyways, guys, thanks for 184K. Big milestone. Make sure you guys like the stream down below. Subscribe still if you haven't. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video or stream. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.